What's happening, guys? I hope everybody had a great weekend. We have the last Sunday video for August. We're getting right into September. The months are starting to fly by, but the momentum is staying. We've talked about what inning we're in. And like I said, I think we've got a rain delay at this point. I think we're stuck in the fourth inning. I don't think we're making any progress, but the momentum is continuing. I don't think that this style of trade is going to change for the next couple of years. I really don't. I don't see a slowdown in store. Even if the markets were to pull back a lot, I don't see it happening. I don't see small caps slowing down. I just see all these different opportunities. When the big markets start to pull back, sure, they start trading like small caps. There's some crazy action there. When they bounce, small caps heat back up like crazy. So I don't think we're going to have a shortage of plays, no matter what, for the next many, many years. And I tweeted this week about a couple things that I felt had changed in the market and, pretty much changed the goalpost forever, right? And I talked about this support, SPRT, indirectly the prior night before, or 2 nights before the crazy squeeze. And I talked about all these red show names, these algorithms coming in, and basically shorts letting more shorts out, right? Creating this kicking the can down the road type of event, which eventually turns into a crazy squeeze, which, as you saw on SPRT, I wanted 40 to 60 potentially out of the gates on Friday, which is exactly what we got. I was 31 cents off. But the point here is that it's beneficial to understand how that works. It's beneficial to see that these stocks are starting to grind a little bit higher. They churn the volume, they go to the next level, and the new shorts that are coming in are letting old shorts out. But you're just kicking that can down the road on the red show, and the red show is basically the failure to deliver. They get on a list of a bunch of different names. You can go into it and view it, but there's probably like 20 or 30 names on there, and I believe BBIG is actually on there, as well as a few others, but slowly but surely it's almost acting like the high short percentage interest list that really fueled AMC and GME and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to have an eye on that. It's just something to take advantage of, or at least be aware of, I guess. It does not mean that they're all going to go. A lot of them do not. But when you do start to see them having these outlier volume days, these outlier moves, it's something to keep in mind in the back of your head. Hey, make sure you behave. And that's why I was a broken record on SPRT this week. And hopefully, everybody did pretty well on it. It was a great opportunity. I personally still need to get better at knowing, I know when not to short. But if I know not to short, then I should be getting aggressively long. And it's just as difficult. It's difficult to trust it at certain stages in the run. And, we'll see what happens with the week ahead. But it's nice to see these types of moves just because the more that we have, the more opportunity that we have, the better opportunity we're going to have in the future. The more people that are making more and more and more money, the more flow we're going to have into the next trade, the more volume we're going to have into the next trade, the more shorts are going to get aggressive because they just won on this SPRT on the backside of the trade. So I'm making sure right now that I am saying the right ticker because for whatever reason I call it SRPT and SPRT. And let me just make sure before I keep on going. SPRT, I got it. That was one thing I probably posted SPRT in my level 2 no less than 150 times. And I made a pact with myself that I was not going to trade it until I got it right. But either way, let's get right into this scan for this week. But like I said, my goal this week was to be done by 2 p.m. on that Friday. I got a little bit of response that, yeah, it's nice once you've made it, you can do that. Yeah, it's nice once you've made it, you can make this decision, that decision, whatever. But that's not what the point, or that's not what the idea is about. It's about, these are things I should have been doing a long time ago. It's not about what I'm doing now. It took me this long to figure it out. It took me this long to realize it. But I wish I had done it sooner. So don't take it as a, yeah, it must be nice so you can, you know, leave at 2 p.m. It's not that. What you should be doing, in my opinion, as a trader is just like we talked about last week. You should have those 2 A+ moves per day or per week or per month or however often they come. Like I said, more often than not lately. So that, yeah, sometimes two per day. But focus on just those and forget about all the rest. You don't need to trade every single moment. Yeah, I was a little bit anxious because I did not trade the SPRT fade into the close. I did not have a big opportunity on BBIG because it was after I left. So yeah, you know, you're going to miss stuff, but you're also going to miss life. And that was sort of the point of the tweet. Has nothing to do with whether or not you've made it. It's about controlling your trading, controlling the path that you're taking, controlling before it controls you. And I would probably admit to the fact that it's controlled me for many, many years. So the sooner that you can get ahead of that, the sooner that you can build a strategy or you know, kind of rules around that, the more free, in my opinion, you'll be. So that was the point. And hopefully, you know, it was helpful for some to kind of think about it. Trust me, it's not easy. You know, I've worked on this for many years. It's probably been my resolution, New Year's resolution for the past 5 years. And this is probably the first year that I've actually done it. So maybe it's because of the kids. Who knows? As you guys know, you like and leave a comment. Key takeaway, by the way, we don't comment and send you WhatsApp, and you know, we don't spam the comment section. So I did see a lot last week of like somebody spamming the comment section. You can report them if you want or just ignore them. But anyway, if you leave a comment, you automatically are entered to win, just like I talked about last week. So this week's t-shirt winner was Nick Munio, M-U-N-I-O, and this week's IU winner, I was going to do scans, but we'll do IU for the month, is CJ Pledger. So both good comments and good key takeaways, and I appreciate you guys helping out. And the reason I say helping out is because you're helping other members with your key takeaways. Maybe they missed it. They can go back, click, see what the key takeaway was, and hear it again. And believe it or not, that probably has given more people aha moments than you think. So that's what this is all about, and our goal is to continue to make these small little videos, and hopefully helps you guys out. All right, so I talked about what inning we were in. This week, RIDE, R-I-D-E. I would challenge you guys to go back and check out XL and RMO. I put out a tweet this week so that you can see you know, kind of where have we seen this before. So a lot of times when I see action that I've seen before, I think about how it played out, right? A lot of times things play out very similar to the way that they played out before. Not always, but it's a good starting point where, you know, RIDE, I knew that it might have that trap secondary move and that squeeze out off the open because, one, I've traded that one before. 2, it reminded me of RMO. 3, it reminded me of XL, as well as many other different names. Clove and FUBO were actually similar trades on that same tweet. So with that said, I will include those charts so you can see the similarities between them and how I was able to participate or at least be you know, prepared for that particular trade. BBIG, I put out a tweet in the morning. You know, a lot of people are going to be promoting these different ideas, the next reverse mergers to go, you know, merger names rather, to go because of the success that SPRT had. Well, you have any, and BBIG came to mind. But the point that I was making is the faster that people come to dismiss these, the faster that people say, ah, it's just a pump, it's going to go right back down, the more people that are on that same side that are trying to downplay it, that are suggesting that it's not going to work, and then it ends up holding support, the more people are going to be on the wrong side of the trade. And like I said, we'll have round 2. We'll have that round 2 squeeze. And as you saw on BBIG, the thing went nuts. So we've got huge trade coming on Monday, and hopefully everybody is prepared for that. Hopefully you're not on the same side. And one of the biggest things, I think, something like BBIG, one of the things I say a lot of times is don't take today's problem into tomorrow, right? You don't want to take a bad trade and carry it over to the next day, because not only are you, maybe bringing that problem into the next day, where you could have had a phenomenal trading day, but you're starting out in a bad manner. You're starting out red. You're starting out in the worst mindset that you can, when you could have just taken that loss and moved on. So BBIG is a good example of that, I think, where they kind of let shorts out into the close, and maybe you weren't quite even. You were waiting for a little bit more, and you're like, I'll get that 20 cents after hours. It'll pull back a little bit more. All of a sudden, it runs $2 against you. That's what you want to avoid, and that's why I never take these high volume trades short into the 4 p.m. Maybe I'll trade them after hours sometimes if there's a big opportunity, but I never want to keep today's problem over into tomorrow. I'd rather start with a clean slate. I'd rather start fresh, because then you don't have to work from behind and already be in the negative mindset. You should be in a clear mindset. You should be ready to go, patient and clear-minded coming into the day. So that is my thoughts on BBIG. That is my thoughts on, carrying your problems over into the next day. Last couple comments that I had, and then we'll get right into scan for the week. This one should be a little bit shorter than last time. I didn't ask for questions this time just because I wanted to, nail down a few points and then get right to it. So AMC, we saw, had a nice big move. That brought back a lot of momentum. You saw it Clove and Wish and BB. And one point that I wanted to make here is, maybe AMC is not your best trade. Maybe it's not your best example, right? So, or best, it's not the best trade for you to make as a new trader, because it's wild, it's crazy tape, and it's difficult to always do the right thing on that trade. And you actually need to build in risk to being wrong. You could be dead right, and then you get $1 swipe, $2 swipe, right? So you have to build that in, and if you don't, you're going to get smoked. So a good example of that is, I always talk about the shiny trade of the day, right? So Friday would probably be SPRT. Well, while you were watching SPRT, you had DLPN, you had TKAT, you had ELF, you had all these different trades that worked phenomenally while everybody else was watching SPRT, right? So that's why I always suggest to avoid the shiny trade, the shiny object, and work on the ones that everybody else is not watching. And so this AMC reminded me of that, and Eric is very good with that, Eric Wood, where his mind goes MVIS and BB, right? And you had BBBY, you had Wish, Clove, all these different names, but they're going to be less emotional roller coaster-ish. It's going to be less of that back and forth and ping pong style action that AMC has. So the fact that his mind went straight to BB, that's where his focus was. He has AMC up. He's watching what AMC does. Okay, AMC starts to fade off. So does BB. AMC starts to jump like crazy. BB doesn't really care. And that was the benefit of trading the less shiny object. PFE, last week we talked about A+ setup, just like mRNA. Compare the two charts, nice unwind. The point that I wanted to make, I think, with PFE was look after the first day. Everybody is so obsessed with getting that first day. And look, I like to get the big, I guess the parabolic move type day, the big transitional day, the big exhaustion day. I like that. I'm good at anticipating and figuring that trade out. But the point here is, look how much more of a trade was there after you forgot about it. So remember, do not forget about big names that have squeezed out, right? It is an outlier event on the daily, outlier action, outlier volume. And with that, once things cool off, as you saw with BTBT, everybody stops caring about them, and they fade 50%, whatever. PFE has already faded down into the mid 40s, and nobody's really talking about the fact that each and every single day it's gone red. So I think that's about it. Besides, momentum's coming back to old runners, BLIN, MRIN, XELA. So keep in mind what ran 2 months ago, 3 months ago. And it feels like everybody's coming back to those names because you saw BBIG going, you saw any going, you saw all these different names that were runners, and the interest is coming back. So when you have all this demand and all this excitement 2-3 months ago, just remember that the vast majority of traders don't trade. They just hold these things, right? They're like cult members that just, they're apes in AMC and all this stuff. So people get excited as soon as they see upside. And so when it starts to go again, the excitement, the action, the aggressive, like, we're going to the moon, jump on, all that comes right back, and it gives some good opportunities. So keep that in mind. And let's get right into scan for today. All right, guys, once again, I am not a financial advisor. These are not buy or sell recommendations. This is for educational and informational purposes only. So if you're not okay with that, turn it off. If you're okay with that, you're good with understanding how I think, how I prepare, and how it potentially could benefit you. That's what the point is. It's to educate you on how to get prepared for the day. Whether or not you trade these names, that doesn't matter. You can use the same preparation for your own trades, your own, stocks on radar and things like that. I'm sharing with you what came on my radar, what I'm interested in, and what my plans are. And if certain things happen, what I would potentially do, how I would potentially react. But once again, they're not buy or sell recommendations. So if you're looking for that, you came to the wrong place, as usual, as I always say. So let's get into it. BBIG. Crazy ripper. Absolutely nuts. Huge volume, huge bids all day. I feel like a lot of traps got in there, got aggressive. They let everybody almost out, but they held the overall trend. If you were looking left, if you looked to the prior levels of support, they held it. They held it each and every single time. They did the same thing on SPRT. That's why I wore this shirt. If you go back through the chat logs on SPRT, you saw each level I gave. It came right back to that an hour later, tested it almost to the penny at times, and then carried on. And I think that that's going to play a big role in BBIG tomorrow, just because I feel like that's the type of algorithm that's running. They love to kind of test people in and think, all right, this is the time it's going to crack. Nope. They just fooled you. They just trapped you, and it's on to the next push. So I want to make sure that those levels looking left crack, fail to follow through before I get aggressive. If I take a trade into a parabolic move, into some type of aggressive action, which typically, in many cases, I do, the most important part of that trade is the cover. And that's what I call being proactive with covers. Proactively covering into the flushes. I don't care where it's going to go. I don't care what it's going to do. The only thing that gives me the ability to be patient is by letting it crack and fail to follow through under that key level. If it does not fail to follow through under that key level, you're going to get stuck, you're going to get squeezed, and that's exactly what I mean by proactive covers. You should assume that those key levels will hold. So when it flushes down, you should be there if you're trading the front side of the move. If you're a new trader, you should not be trading the front side of the move. So that is why I always give those key levels. And one of the things that a lot of times I get, obviously, a lot of PMs during the day, but a lot of traders actually use those key levels for potential long spots, because they know that as long as it's holding that trend, there's a good chance that it's going to continue higher, because these are outlier events, outlier squeezes, and that's that. So let's apply the same thing that we applied with SPRT. Higher the better. Let it go. Don't fight the front side of the move. So do we open at 8, 9, 10 tomorrow? I don't know. Do we open at 6? I don't know. But this is going to be my main watch. I am not excited about waking up at 4 a.m. to trade it. I will look at 7 to 8, see what's going on, and as usual, I will probably trade once in the morning and then be done with it into the open. I don't want to have a bias moving into open. This is going to be an unbelievable opportunity, and if you put your blinders on at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., you're going to miss that opportunity and probably be blinders on until 4 p.m. and really be upset with yourself. So be aware and be cautious not to form a bias too soon. So How would I react to this? 8 to 10 parabolic? Yes, probably react to it. If it has a weak open, flushes 650s, and traps, then I might actually be on the long side of that trade. So it's going to take pre-market, seeing what happens, because we don't know if that was just somebody blowing up pre-market, or excuse me, after hours, or if that is going to be continued momentum. To me, I feel like we might actually have some continued momentum, because it's just like SPRT, where we had that early morning push, fail, and then turn the jets on, right? Sometimes that early morning push and then the steady fade is the trap. And you look at it and you say, this thing's failing, this thing's unwinding, this thing's over, this thing's done. And then it's one candle, two candles, and you're right back to the highs. Because they trapped. They can trap into the downside, slowly and steadily buying on the way down. So be cautious of that. And they don't even need to buy. A lot of times they just let the shorts do the work for them. The shorts are the ones scaling in. Then they have FOMO on missing the short. And then they start to get, like I talked about, they start to let each other out, compounding the issue and turning it into a highly liquid squeeze. So higher the better. GAMB. This one's a little bit difficult to prepare for just because it doesn't have too much history. As noted on Thursday, there was a steady buyer in the tape, and I had interest in joining that trade on dips. I joined that trade on dips. It started to go nuts on Friday. I actually added into the position. It went nuts into the close. I sold what I added, and I'm back to the core. So I had an under 8 average. I think it was 791 or so. I added some, I believe, in the 11s, and then I sold 14, 30 range or so after hours on those ads. So if we had a move, 15, 16, 17, something like that, I would probably sell the rest of the long. Then I'd probably look for a potential fade back, a short back, down to maybe 12s, 11s, something like that, and I'd look to reverse the trade again. So higher the better for the exit on the rest, and then I'm looking for a flush to re-enter. And if I can take advantage of that on the short side, I will. But if not, and it happens too quickly, then I'll be looking to reposition on the long side if it consolidates and holds a trend. DVAX was a nice A+ type setup. I tweeted it the night before that it was going to be a focus name for me. As usual, it's the same chart as PFE. It's the same chart as mRNA. It is my go-to type of setup. It does not mean that it's going to top that day, the next day, the next day. But when and if it does, it's going to give a nice opportunity. And so we had a nice pullback. Then it started to hold trend. And like I said in the room, be cautious until VWAP confirms, right? And the first time it tested, it went right through it. And then it started to fail. You can see lower highs. We talk about the basketball analogy in tandem trader and textbook trading. So that's the bounce against a base, right? In this case, VWAP. So it ended up giving a fantastic opportunity late day. I did not participate just because I had left. I would have been there. That was a nice setup. And so at this point on the daily chart, you look at it, yeah, it's extended, but this can definitely hold. So if it were to open weak and 1650 based, I'd be looking for a potential breakout. If it were to open high and retest towards maybe some of the prior resistance levels from Friday, I'd be looking to fade it back. So if we had some type of test towards the 1750s, 1750.18, I'd be looking to fade it back down, let it consolidate for a few days, and like I said, if 1650 starts to base, then we could see that secondary leg. So be patient, be cautious, getting too aggressive, and again, don't underestimate the fact that this thing can actually stay. We're in a great market. Things are staying, things are going, and you don't want to get too biased. So continuation plays. I actually have a lot of continuation ideas this week. Not always the case. I know a lot of people always think that I'm only short biased, but I prepare for the short side, right? And for my longs, I join momentum. And so I actually do go long a lot more than I would think that most people think, based on the comments and sometimes the feedback. I wish you had more longs, things like that. my continuation section is all long ideas, long base, and what I'm looking for to confirm that. So right now, SQL, I have a position on. It had a decent day on the first day. It had a move after hours. So to me, that tells me maybe it'll be a 4 a.m., 6 a.m. type ripper. Maybe fades back, and then 7 a.m., 8 a.m., they start to put the juice back on it like usual. But it's still new. It doesn't have a market developed yet. So I want to be cautious, trusting it, more than that. So if it were to rip 550s, 6s, then I'd probably be looking to lock in and then see if it pulls back, consolidates the next couple days for a potential, secondary trade. But until we actually have a market developed, a real market developed, and not just, some momentum off the first move, I want to be cautious getting too biased in any one direction. So next one was AEHR. You guys know I've been watching this one for quite some time. And this one is, I think, a great example of what I look for in the daily charts. And so what this did or had was a huge move. Then it pretty much consolidated for a month. And you'll see that it kind of had this little breakout move. That it was a failed breakout. And so that got my interest again. And then it came all the way back down and tested the daily chart VWAP. And if you'll notice, it actually put in a little bit of a double bottom right at this pullback over here. So to me, that was scripted. That was on purpose. Whomever soaked it this day and has been basically supporting the name since, gave a little bit of that, all right, here we go. Get everybody excited about the breakout, and then let it fade back, because that's the point where everybody's like, all right, forget it. It's over. It's not going to go. And, you've been waiting for a month. It finally goes up a day. Then it pulls back. They get out anybody that wanted to sell, and then we get that nice move. So I joined it. I think it was Wednesday, Thursday, and had a nice move pre-market as well on Thursday. And I'm letting that one work until it doesn't. But it does feel like one of those moves where, we could end up being into the 7 to 10 range if we start to find a new base over this 8 level. So we'll see what happens with that. But so far, so good. And, I'm going to let it work until it doesn't work. PXLW, you guys know this one from Scan last week. It reminded me a lot of BTU. So far, it unfolded very similar, and it continues to go. So I actually was not in the trade. I traded it that Monday. I had since moved on. And then on Friday, I put the trade back on. I said I was buying dips versus, I think, VWAP or whatever it was that I posted in the room. And then obviously steady, nice breakout throughout the day. I locked in some just to adjust around the core, just to adjust risk. I always like to adjust risk. Anytime something speeds up, I like to adjust risk a little bit. Even if it continues to go higher, that's okay. Same thing with GAMB, same thing with everything. A couple others, Root. Root, I have no position on, but this thing went nuts after hours, so hopefully we have an opportunity there. A couple levels that interest me is right around that 770s to 8 range. The reason for that is if you go to the immediate, let me just draw a line here, the immediate levels of pretty much resistance before it faded is that 770 range, and then the prior support is pretty much in that 8, bring it down here, right around that 830 range or so. So I think there could be a little bit of an air pocket into that range if it wants to squeeze out. And then that would be levels that I'd be interested in. If we start getting crazy volume, momentum, this is a high short percentage interest name. So again, anything's possible, but I don't like to, get to that point as fast as maybe Twitter or Wall Street Bets does, and like, hey, this one's going to the moon. I'm not interested in that, but I am interested that there's high volume, high range right now, outlier range rather, and there's potential. So higher it goes, better. Blow off move, I'm interested in a fade. Otherwise, the way that I would get long is pulls back 9:30 to 9:45, in between there. 9:45, 10 a.m. it starts to base and go. I'm interested in joining versus VWAP. So that would be of interest for me. And you can see that we're right at that resistance level that I went over on the daily chart. So you can see this first line is right where it's sitting right now. So that's going to be a key level to watch. IC has been a good one in the past. Nice breakout here. I'd be looking at dips versus 10 for a potential breakout. Clean move, could go 13 to 15 near term if it starts to clear through that 11. See what happens. AHT, this one's one of those retail crowded names where, you know, I think that if it does start to go up, people will get excited, people will average down. Everybody is upside down on this trade that has been, you know, getting long and excited about it since it had its big move. I mean, it went straight down, it did the reverse split, and it's literally at a lower point than where the run started. So what does that mean? That means that if it does start to go, a lot of times people look at this and they say, oh, wow, 15 to 18 is a big move. 15 to 20 is a big move. And it brings in a lot of shorts. So if it were to have that 15 to 20 move and shorts get aggressive, we could have that secondary squeeze out. So I am interested in watching it and being part of it potentially. Currently, I am long some, but if momentum comes into it, I don't want to underestimate what it can do. That does not mean I'm bullish. It just means that there is likely going to be a good chance of a dead cat bounce, that reversal trade where everybody averages down and it starts to have that little reversal before the ultimate unwind later on. So the way that I would define that is sort of a relief rally where sellers have finally slowed, everybody starts to come back in, get excited again, and then, the ultimate demise later on. Last couple alongside GSMG. This one was an idea on scan Thursday night off of a weak open for potential follow-through action. This should look familiar to the PMCB as well as a few other those T+2 liquidity trap type of situations. So with that said, that does not mean that it's going to go. What it means is that we need to watch dips, watch to see if trends continue to hold, and if they do, then watch for that secondary move, especially if the volume stays relatively light and the bids hold. If we have secondary news, then there's a good chance that anything could happen on this thing. It had enough volume, 115 million shares that day, followed by about 6-7 million shares the next day. If it holds trend and it only has 2 to 3 million shares on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it is going to be a heavily focused name for me. DYAI, so far so good. I've locked in the last couple days. This was also a long idea from a prior Sunday video based on the volume, based on the same thought. You're starting to see the same type of daily charts here. It should start to trigger something that says, oh, that's the same chart. Oh, that's the same chart. That's the same chart. And that's the idea of going through these on this scan. Same thing, CLEU, you can kind of see that cleanup day with the big volume right here. And then since then, they've been buying dips, buying dips, buying dips, buying dips. And same thing, OPGN, not OGPN, OPGN. You've got, the higher volume day. They've pretty much held a bid since. Next high volume day, and they've been accumulating dips since. So again, it's nothing to chase, but what I'm looking for is that transitional day, huge volume, then wicks start to get bought up. Next transitional day, wicks start to get bought up, and then potential breakout type action. So that's that. Failed follow through momentum, failed follow through section is the shorts. I'm looking for higher the better, failed follow through momentum. So SRPT, anything's possible. I don't want to, think that, look, I did it, SPRT. I don't want to put too much attention to this, but at this point, shorts finally got their nice unwind there into the close. If they made it through all of that action, who knows? Looks pretty weak, looks pretty, over, but who knows? The more clear, the easier the fade, the better the chance of that quick reversal. So be aware that this could have some some circuits off the open, just like we talked about on Friday. But if I trade it, it's going to be off open. I don't really think I'm going to trade it off after that. I just don't feel like the edge is there. I feel like a lot of people are going to be looking for, everybody's going to have an opinion on it. Everybody's going to be, saying it's going to go to 100 and this and that. But I would trade it if it had a push to 30, 32, and then look for the fade back under 20. But other than that, I would probably leave it alone. But I put it on there just in case, because I like to use it as an index for some of these other trades as well. BBIG, ANY, and just to kind of see if there's relative strength, if they're trading in line. If you actually notice, BBIG faded when SPRT came in on Friday, but then it started to have relative strength, and I think that's actually where the trap formed, only to squeeze out after hours. And take into consideration the fact that they waited until after hours for that big move, right? It's an easier market to squeeze, less liquidity, less players, and it does enough to squeeze out a lot of players, but it also has this ability to carry that momentum through to the next morning into pre-market and the next trading day. So I think it's very important to understand that. These next three, I'm just going to fly through: SGOC, DLPN, and TCAT. These are all the same kind of situations. I feel like most people will be watching SPRT, and I think that we're going to have clean opportunities just like we had on ALF. While everybody else was looking at other names, these likely have good trades. Now, that does not mean that I'm only short biased. It does not mean that I think they have to go down. I am going to wait for them to prove to me that either they are going down or they have some type of nice bounce, just like we had on TCAT on Friday. And you saw that I got short on that. I had posted the chart. And yes, I missed a good rest of the day, unwind, because I ended up, taking the day off. But big opportunity. And there wasn't as many people watching that one because they're all eyes on SPRT. So that is that, and that's what I'm prepared for. I hope you guys enjoyed the video as usual. If you have any questions, you know the deal, reach out. Happy to help. We'll see you guys in the room tomorrow morning. But once again, remember that this is the end of August. We're starting September. So end the month off on a positive note. Start the month off on a positive note. Remember, less is more. You don't need to push buttons all the time. It's good to have screen time. You can learn a lot on SPRT by not trading it. I gave all those key levels in the room, told people where to record, told people where to watch. There was a lot of things that I thought were going to probably peak out, and they didn't. And when that happens, that's when the fast moves start, right? Because if a lot of people are thinking one thing and the next thing happens, that's where all the dangerous moves, happen. So I've been very fortunate to, been squeezed many times in my life, and early on. And so for me, hopefully, knock on wood, those days are over. I'm not interested in finding the top on these things. Even when AMC squeezed, just this last week, I got in there a little bit early, and I, proactive covers. It flushed out. I wasn't looking to be a hero on the trade. Take that trade and then wait for the next one. It gave me the ability to rescale back in 36 to 37 range. And, had I not taken the trade and looked for the next one, who knows? What if it went to 45? So I'm not doing those games anymore. I'm not, taking more aggressive risk than I need to. There's too much good happening right now. There's too much opportunity right now to be taking low quality, low edge trades. And that really is my entire focus, is high edge A+ setups right now. And so that's that. Again, have a good rest of the weekend. We'll see you guys in the room tomorrow, and thanks for watching.